The morning after my son's arrest, I opened a file labeled Sunday Plan Mom. Each line detailed how they meant to poison me and claim my home. I didn't scream. I documented. Then I pressed send. Evidence to every agency in town. And that was just the beginning. The porch was breathing with me that afternoon. A soft savanna wind carried the smell of magnolia and wet soil through the screens. My house creaked in rhythm, like an old friend stretching her bones. After Marcus passed, I learned every sound this place made, the pipes sighing, the porch swing humming. It's the kind of house that keeps your heartbeat when nobody else is listening. Evan showed up around 4, carrying grocery bags like some advertisement for good sons. "Hey, Ma," he said, voice smooth as a radio host. He had that doctor's posture, too upright, too practiced. Isolde followed him in, her smile polished, apron spotless. "You rest, Miss Marjorie," she said, already untying the ribbons like this kitchen belonged to her. I watched her move, graceful and efficient, touching my counters like I was a guest in my own home. My church calendar hung crooked on the fridge beside a magnet from the funeral home. Southern manners filled the air. "Yes, ma'am." "No, sir." But underneath it, I smelled something else. Control dressed as kindness. I smiled anyway. Gratitude has a quiet face, and so does suspicion. Evan set a mug in front of me, his grin soft but eyes busy. "For you, Mama, extra cocoa. Just how you like." He said it the way a child rehearses affection. I chuckled. "Baby, I can fix my own." He laughed lightly. "Let me take care of you for once." Isolde stood by the stove, narrating her virtue. I warmed the milk slow so it wouldn't scald. She always spoke like she was auditioning for decency. I wrapped both hands around the mug, felt the faint tremor of my arthritis, rested it on the cork coaster. The steam curled up, slow and thin. 3 identical mugs sat on the table, same pattern, same handle direction. I watched the reflection of light on the cocoa's surface and noticed Evan's gaze, clinical and searching, like he was reading vitals instead of visiting his mother. Then it hit, the faintest whisper of almond, sharp against the chocolate, a scent I hadn't smelled since my baking days. My pulse didn't jump, it steadied. "Something's off," I told myself quietly. "Don't ask me how I know. You live long enough, you trust your nose." Isolde's smile paused, just a flicker, and Evan's hand nudged the mug closer. "Go on, Ma. It's cooling." I leaned back, changed the subject. "Did you ever call about that roof leak?" He blinked, off balance for a second, then turned to grab his phone. While he stepped to the pantry and Isolde scrolled her screen, I rose, murmuring, "Let me get some sugar." The movement was natural, ordinary. I switched our mugs, mine to her coaster, hers to mine, adjusted the napkin, flipped the handles. Hosting Sunday dinners all those years had trained my hands to hide intention inside grace. "Y'all sit. I'll plate the cookies," I said, smoothing the tablecloth. My wedding vase glinted under the light like a silent witness. I sat back, smiling, palms open as if the world were simple again. 20 minutes passed. The oven timer blinked. Cicadas outside sang like they were keeping score. Isolde took a sip, winced. "Too sweet," she said, moving my mug toward the sink. Evan teased. "Guess Mama's sweet tooth rubbed off." I stirred the cocoa, never tasting it. A chair scraped, a glass tipped. Then came the scream. It tore through the magnolia air, raw and wrong. "Evan, help!" Her voice broke the house open. I walked. Steady, deliberate. Isolde was on the floor, skin gray, hands grasping the counter edge. Evan's face twisted, confusion chasing guilt. "Call 911. He barked, eyes flicking to my untouched mug. I dialed, voice firm. "This is Marjorie Delane, Baldwin Park. We need an ambulance now." Years as a church usher trained me to stay calm when others trembled. I opened the back door for air. "Keep her on her side," I said, flat and clear, in my head. One prayer. "Lord, show me truth, not comfort." Sirens cried somewhere far off. I slipped a napkin with cocoa stains into my pocket, habit of keeping receipts. Evan leaned close. whispering. "Mama, why didn't you drink?" I met his eyes. Didn't feel like it. The house seemed to breathe beside me, protective and proud. If that cup was meant for me, "Son," I said quietly, "you'd best pray she lives." The ambulance lights painted my house in red and white, a pulsing heartbeat that didn't belong to me. Paramedics lifted Isolde onto the gurney, her limbs trembling like paper in wind. Evan followed close behind, his voice clipped but polite, doctor tone, professional concern. He looked back once. That same unreadable expression, half worry, half calculation, I memorized it. Every look tells a story if you wait long enough. Before they left, I turned off the stove, checked the locks, and left the back door cracked just like I had found it. My mug sat untouched, ring of cocoa drying around the rim. I took a photo on my phone. Timestamp, evidence. When the officer asked what happened, I told it straight. She drank from the cup meant for me. Evan leaned from the ambulance, voice raised over the siren. "My mother's been forgetful lately," he said, smiling thinly. Planting the seed, I replied evenly, "Officer, I'm the one who called 911 and kept her breathing. Confused folks don't do that." Then I slipped the cocoa-stained spoon and napkin into a baggie. Years of accounting made save your receipts second nature. At Memorial Health, the fluorescent lights buzzed like a sermon microphone. The triage nurse asked, "Who made the drinks?" I said. "They did, together." Evan spoke over me. That soft apology doctors use. "Mom's been mixing her vitamins lately. She may have spiked it by mistake." I met the nurse's eyes. "I didn't drink mine. That's why I'm standing here." She nodded. Typed. Evan smiled for the audience. But the nurse wasn't buying tickets. I spoke calmly. "Ma'am, I pay my bills, drive myself, and know my passwords. That's not confusion, that's discipline." Her pen hesitated just long enough to mark belief. I texted myself a timeline. 4:32 served, 4:52 collapse, 5:01 sirens. A trail of crumbs for when memory fails others but not me. They put me in a quiet room for statements. 2 officers took notes while Evan introduced himself first. "I'm Dr. Delane." Like title was a shield. He talked about my grief since losing Dad, my occasional tremor. All half-truths stacked like dominoes. I folded my hands. "Tremor's not confusion," I said. "It's arthritis. And I'm not the one who drank." They asked why 3 mugs. "You'll have to ask the cooks," I said, and let silence do the work. Evan said he just carried them. Isolde handled the cocoa. I saw it. His story shifting weight, sliding blame downhill. Before I left, I asked for the report number and suggested they secure my kitchen before anyone got there first. Back home. The quiet was louder than the sirens. I sat by Marcus's old desk, logged into my account, and froze. Savings gone. Clean transfer. Time-stamped last week. An email pinged. Durable power of attorney attached. My name forged. Evan's phone listed for verification. The betrayal landed cold. I printed every page, circled withdrawals, stapled each copy. Paper doesn't disappear like digital trust. I called the credit union's after-hours line and froze the account. "Ma'am, do you suspect fraud?" the rep asked. "I suspect family," I said. And like an echo from Marcus's voice in my head, "Age don't make you weak, Marjorie. It makes you thorough." I put on dish gloves, pulled out my phone again, and started documenting. 3 mugs on the counter, each photographed from above. I scraped a spoonful of residue into spice jars, labeled them with time and date. The kitchen smelled of cinnamon, milk, and faint almond. I sealed the lids with tape and signed across it like a witness. A paper bag waited by the door with a note. "Evidence. Do not discard." Then I sent the officer the case number and a photo. No drama, no shaking hands, just accuracy. Evan called as the clock hit 8. "Mom, you should have drunk the cocoa. It would have proven it was safe." His tone was smooth, rehearsed. "We don't test poison by drinking it," I said. "We test it by thinking." He tried another route. "Police will need to hear about your memory lapses." I smiled into the receiver. They'll also hear who pushed the cup toward me, and who poured 3 when 2 would have done. Silence stretched. Then the click. Guilty men hang up first. The doorbell startled me. Mrs. Dalrymple stood there, robe over her nightgown. "I saw your boy carry a brown bottle earlier," she whispered. "Thought it was cough syrup." Her eyes darted toward the street. "He said you needed to relax." I asked her to jot that down. Time included. She did. Before leaving, she gripped my hand. "Don't let them talk you small. I promised I wouldn't." An hour later, officers arrived to collect the evidence bag. I handed them my written notes, the neighbor's statement, and the printed bank forms. "Include the almond smell," I said. The senior officer lifted a brow. "Almond?" "Yes," I answered, "and not from cookies." He promised to file chain of custody paperwork and left me a receipt. The door closed, leaving only the hum of my refrigerator and the weight of survival. I sat again at Marcus's desk, papers spread like shields. The vase from our anniversary caught the lamplight. A soft reminder that beauty witnesses truth. I whispered to the empty room, "If this house remembers more than I do, it's time I listen." Outside, the magnolias rustled like old women gossiping, steady, certain, waiting for the truth to bloom. I locked the front door, slid the chain across, and left the porch light burning like a sentry, not out of fear, just habit from years of being the only heartbeat left in this house. The quiet pressed in, thicker than the spring air. 3 coasters waited on the coffee table. 2 spoons rested in the sink, and 1 untouched mug sat on the sideboard where I'd left it. The magnolia scent slipped through the cracked window, mixing with detergent and memory. I looked toward the blue anniversary vase, its glaze reflecting the lamplight. "If you've got something to tell me, say it plain," I whispered. Some houses echo. Mine listens. The vase felt heavier than usual when I lifted it. Under its base, taped tight, was an envelope marked in Marcus's handwriting. "Open if you ever feel watched." My breath caught. I brewed chamomile and sat at his old desk, slicing the envelope open with my church knife. The letter wasn't tender. It was instruction. "Hope you never need this," it began. "If you do, remember, quiet is faster than shouting." He'd written rules, not comfort. Document time. Secure finances. Never confront in anger. Each word carried his accountant precision. Then came a line that made the air shift. "There's a camera in the vase's throat. Recharges when the lamp is on." The last sentence read, "If our boy forgets who raised him, let the truth remind him." I sat still, staring at his signature, half expecting his laugh from the other room. I fetched the step stool and tilted the vase under the light. My fingers, stiff with arthritis, found a small panel lined with felt. A lens blinked back at me. No bigger than a pea. My phone's flashlight confirmed it. A hidden camera. Memory card intact. I smiled, sad and proud. "You old fox. You planned for the worst," I murmured. My laptop's fan coughed to life, its hum filling the silence like an old hymn. The card slid into the adapter. A folder popped up, timestamps, clips, all dated. I made a new folder labeled Receipts Home, paper trails in digital form. Marcus would have approved. The first clip rolled, Thanksgiving laughter, too loud, too sweet. I skipped ahead to today, 4:20 to 5:10. The frame caught the kitchen island, the stove, and my chair's edge. I watched myself take the mug, watched Isolde stir far too long, watched Evan's eyes flick toward the clock. Then, clear as confession, her whisper, "Make sure she drinks while it's hot." My stomach turned, not from fear, but confirmation. I slowed the playback. Isolde's hand slipped a small brown bottle from her sleeve, poured a measure, and stirred again. Evan nodded once. That was all I needed. I froze the frame, printed it, printed another, then one more. Their faces, their intent, my proof. I signed and dated each printout, clipped them with my notes. Smell, almond, time, 4:32, event swap. Then I saved everything twice. Thumb drive and external hard drive, and emailed a copy to my credit union vault. Always keep 2 copies and 1 witness, Marcus used to say. Tonight, I let the cloud be my witness. I sealed the micro SD in an envelope, labeled and taped it shut. I wrote a cover letter to the police. Dates, facts, no adjectives. The truth doesn't need decoration. I sat back, studying the last frame. Evan's reflection caught in the microwave door. My only child plotting my silence. Lord, I whispered, keep my mind sharp and my heart clean. Justice without love turns mean. I didn't call him. I called Harold Baines. Our old lawyer left a message. Document forgery and possible poisoning. Urgent. The words came out steady. I tucked Marcus's letter into my ledger marked Home Assets. The kettle hissed again. I made tea. Not cocoa. Some nights, tea isn't for comfort, it's for clarity. I played the clip one more time. At 4:29, a voice I'd missed before. Low and certain, Evans. Don't worry, she'll drink it. I smiled, tired but resolute. I won't, I said aloud. To the empty room, to Marcus, to the house that had kept watch when no one else would. I woke before sunrise, kettle hissing low like a whisper from another life. No cocoa this time, black tea, strong enough to steady thought. On the table. I arranged my folder labeled Receipts Home. Each document sat in order, printed frames from the video, notes with times and smells, micro SD sealed and signed, and banking printouts showing what had been taken. My old fountain pen gleamed beside them. An extra tucked behind my ear out of habit. I added index cards. Zip bag, phone on speaker as the fraud line confirmed my accounts were frozen. I whispered Marcus's line under my breath. Quiet is faster than shouting, and locked the door behind me. Harold Baines met me at his office door with the same firm kindness he'd shown since Marcus's funeral. Come in, Marjorie, he said, voice like oak, solid and grounded. His office smelled of leather and black coffee, walls lined with case binders instead of art. I spread my folder across his walnut desk. He read silently, page by page. No interruptions. Finally, we'll move on 2 tracks, criminal for the poisoning, civil for the money. His paralegal entered with a yellow pad as he dictated. Emergency injunction, cease and desist on POA use, title hold on property. He called the notary database before I could sip my tea. We'll find where your signature was born, he said. Already drafting motions. I signed forms granting limited representation and evidence release. By noon, he promised, my paper shield would be in motion. The paralegal returned. Face tight. Found it. Power of attorney and quitclaim deed filed last week. She turned the screen. My name slanted wrong. Strokes uneven, not the steady print I'd practiced in choir books. Stamped at a UPS store, she added. Date overlaps with your church attendance record? Harold's jaw tightened. That's elder fraud. Marjorie. They overplayed their hand. He pointed to a line. For caregiving purposes. I laughed softly. They've cared plenty. For themselves. He called a forensic examiner, arranged pickup of originals. Chain of custody paperwork signed and notarized. If it's forged, he said, we'll make it speak in court. He hit send on a temporary restraining order, freezing all activity tied to my estate. My phone buzzed mid-meeting. Detective Naomi Flint, Savannah PD. A clear, once-clipped voice said, assigned to your case, on my way. 30 minutes later, she entered in a plain navy blazer, eyes sharp but calm. Miss Delane, she greeted. I read your summary. It's cleaner than half our reports. I handed her the micro SD copy, the evidence log, and Marcus's letter tucked behind it. She nodded toward the Voss photos. This angle's gold. That almond scent note lines with cyanide screening. We'll confirm through the talks panel. She accepted the chain sheet, took my neighbor's statement, and asked for consent to search the kitchen that evening. Granted, I said. She smiled faintly. Good. Let the paper do the shoutin'. Harold and I spent the next hour making calls. Each credit bureau placed a freeze. The title company flagged the deed with notice of dispute, and the bank received a scanned TRO. Naomi logged each action under her case number. I texted myself every timestamp. Redundant, yes. But redundancy never failed an old accountant. Harold chuckled. 2 copies and 1 witness, he said. Today. I've got 3. At Memorial Health, Naomi wanted eyes on Evan. We caught him outside the ICU corridor, pretending calm. "Mom," he hissed. "Lawyers and detectives? This is embarrassing." I met his gaze, level as glass. That's what help looks like when harm's been done. His smile twitched. "You've been under strain. Maybe confused when you sign things." I answered. "I remember choir practice the same day your papers say I was at a UPS store." Naomi took a note. His face drained color he couldn't hide. He turned away, muttering, "You're making a mistake when—" I said, "No, son, I'm correcting one. By evening, back at Harold's, the next steps were sealed. Hearing set for tomorrow. Forensics scheduled. Naomi would oversee the kitchen sweep. If a backup exists," she said, "we'll find even the deletes." Harold printed my declaration, concise, dated, and signed beneath steady hands. We arranged for a church friend to check in hourly. Caution wasn't fear, it was survival's cousin. I slipped the last still frame into my folder. My son's reflection caught mid-lie. "If paper's how you tried to steal my life, or—" I whispered. "Paper will take it back." I woke before dawn, the house still and heavy, only the hum of the fridge keeping me company. My laptop blinked to life, screen lighting the kitchen. The folder, Receipts Home, was marked with red X's, one by one. The files began to vanish. Photos, PDFs, timestamps, each disappearing faster than the last. The trash bin emptied itself. I felt the pulse in my temple tighten. Someone had remote access. I reached behind the router and yanked the plug. Wi-Fi dead. Bluetooth off. My thumb drive. Still in my robe pocket. It was safe. The external drive sat untouched on the shelf. I snapped photos of the screen, timestamp glowing in the corner. "If they can't win the facts," I whispered, "they'll try to delete them." I called Harold first. "Live deletion attempt," I said, breath even. "Lines are cut." "Good," he replied. "Don't reconnect. Leave the machine cold." We looped in Detective Naomi Flint. I read each file name as it blinked out. Homecam_0326, assetproof_1, statement log. She said, "Cyber unit en route. Don't touch the router." I used paper grocery bags, sealed the laptop, modem, and router, signed across each piece of tape with my initials. Harold drafted an emergency motion, alerting the court of active tampering. The thumb drive and Marcus's envelope lay beneath my lamp, visible as a warning to anyone still watching. The cyber officer arrived before sunrise. "We'll boot from clean hardware," he said, setting up a silver laptop on my dining table. His gloved hands moved quick. "Your system was accessed from a trusted device, registered under an account ending in a Delane, Evan's old tech setup. Two-factor ping hit a number ending in 14, his phone. The officer caught the deletion trail. Automatic script, not manual. He tried to cover his tracks, but logs don't lie." He handed me a receipt bag tag. Naomi texted minutes later, "That's gold. Keep steady." I sat back, fingers pressed together. Anger cooled into focus. "Provable," I said aloud. The phone rang around 7. "Marjorie?" Sister Alma's voice trembled through the line. "Honey, are you all right? Folks are talking." "Talking about what?" I asked, though I already knew. "Someone sent an email, said you're confused, lashing out at family, mentions your pension, even choir times." My throat tightened. "Can you forward it? Headers included?" She sighed. "Already did. We've got your back. But you know people." I smiled into the silence. "Yes, I know people. That's why I write things down." I forwarded the smear to Harold and Naomi. He labeled it wire fraud and defamation before breakfast. Naomi called minutes later. "We'll subpoena the sender IP. Save any voicemails from relatives." I opened a new email to the church list. One paragraph. Calm and direct. "This is an ongoing police investigation. Please refrain from speculation. My attorneys and law enforcement are involved." I added the court case number, hit send, and poured myself more tea. Replies rolled in. Quiet amens. "We're praying for you." And silence from those who'd whispered loudest yesterday. "Let paper and daylight do what whispers won't." I said to no one, just to steady myself. By 9, I was at the credit union. The manager recognized me and guided me to a private room. "We'll log the items for protection," she said gently. I placed the thumb drive, printed stills, and Marcus's letter inside a safe deposit box under my name only. Then I signed a notarized affidavit describing the digital tampering, time-stamped and sealed. A second copy went to Harold's vault, a third uploaded through Naomi's secure evidence portal. 3 witnesses now, I told myself. Bank, lawyer, police. A braided cord doesn't break. Back home. I parked beneath the magnolia shade. A new text blinked on my phone. "Stop making this bigger. Family handles family." I stared at the words until they blurred. My reply came steady. "You made it criminal." I arrived 10 minutes early with Harold Baines, my tote tucked tight under my arm. Inside it were my ledgers, evidence log, and the thumb drive that had kept me up nights. Detective Naomi Flint met us at the courthouse steps, coat sharp, stride steady. "Kitchen search finished early," she said, low and quick. "Items sealed, chain signed." Harold touched my elbow gently. "Remember," he said. "Short sentences, long evidence." I nodded, smoothing the skirt of my navy dress. "Yes, Your Honor, no, ma'am, I can show you." Words rehearsed like hymns. I texted Alma one line before walking in. "Truth at noon." Then I turned off my phone. The judge entered with brisk steps, robe brushing the floor like a wave. Delane versus Delane. Emergency hearing. Harold stood first, clear voice filling the room. "Your Honor, we present evidence of suspected poisoning, forged authority documents, and attempted digital destruction linked to the respondent's devices." Opposing counsel rose, smooth and oily. "My client, Dr. Everett Delane, is deeply concerned for his mother's well-being. We believe she's confused, grieving." I folded my hands, eyes forward. The judge leaned in. "Do you have proof, Miss Delane, beyond claims?" Harold smiled just slightly. "Yes, Your Honor, Exhibits A through F." The screen flickered to life with our timeline. Photo prints, banking holds, and freeze notices. Each page whispered louder than I ever could. Naomi took the stand next. "During a warranted search this morning," she said, "we recovered an unlabeled bottle testing presumptive positive for cyanide. Also, gloves with matching residue and a spoon consistent with ingestion." She listed locations like coordinates of betrayal: behind the mixer, under the sink caddy, bin lid interior. Photos, geotagged and time-stamped. The judge blinked slowly. "This was in Miss Delane's kitchen." Naomi nodded. "Yes, Your Honor." Harold stood. "Request protective order from my client's residence and authority to continue search." Opposing counsel called it premature. "We're not concluding guilt," the judge replied. "We're concluding risk." Motion granted. Then came the moment Harold had saved for last. "Exhibit F, short clip, recovered from my client's VOS camera." The courtroom lights dimmed as the screen showed my kitchen again, familiar, ordinary, damning. Isolde's hand slipped a small bottle over the cup. Evan's voice, low and deliberate. "Make sure she drinks while it's hot." Gasps scattered like dominoes. The judge asked, "Source authentication?" Naomi handed her report. "Chain intact, hash values confirmed, audio unaltered." Harold passed me a pen. I signed a one-line declaration. "This is my kitchen, date and time correct." The opposing attorney stammered about context. The judge cut in. "Context doesn't erase content." The silence that followed was electric. Every head turned toward Evan. The cyber officer testified next, methodical and calm. At 5:08 a.m., deletion was initiated from a device labeled E. Delane. Same trusted access used to sync Miss Delane's folders. Two-factor verification hit a number ending in 14. He pulled up modem logs matched to my screen photos. Pattern indicates scripted deletion, not manual. Harold's voice carried the nail home. Intentional destruction after court notice. "Your Honor," the judge's jaw tightened, "respondent will surrender all digital devices to custody by close of business." Evan's lawyer whispered frantically. I sat still. "I kept 2 copies and a witness," I said softly. The judge heard it anyway. By afternoon, rulings were read into record, The TRO stood firm, assets frozen. Forged documents void pending full hearing. Naomi escorted me out through a side exit, past the reporters waiting for a headline. My phone buzzed once. Alma, a single emoji of praying hands. I replied with a period. Done. Outside. The river wind hit cool and clean across my face. At dusk, Naomi called. Preliminary talks confirm cyanide markers. Full confirmation coming by sunrise. I gripped the railing of my porch, looking out toward the magnolias swaying in the dark. Then we'll stop guessing, I said. Somewhere inside. The house exhaled. Walls lighter, truth heavier. The porch alert chimed at 5:41 a.m. I didn't flinch. The dew smelled like cut grass and rust, the air thin before sunrise. On my phone screen, the motion feed showed a hooded figure near the back steps, shoulders narrow, too small for Callista. I called Naomi on speaker. Voice low. Looks like Evan's sweatshirt. He's testing the knob. She replied, Do not go outside. Cruisers en route. Let the paper talk. I stayed still. Lights off. A minute later, headlights flashed across the azalea bushes. Officers marked prints with pink flags. Asked me to sign a supplemental statement. I brewed plain tea and offered them cups. Habit, not fear. As they left, I sat at my table, ledger open beside the TRO. If they come for my piece, I whispered, they'll find paperwork standing guard. By 8, Naomi looped Harold and me on a three-way. Lab confirmed cyanide residue in the mug and spoon. Probable cause achieved. Harold's tone never rose. Say less. Do more. Let the record carry you, Naomi added. Arrest warrants pending for Evan Delane and Callista Vaughn. We'll seize the trusted device. My eyes closed. Calm but hollow. He's still my son, I said softly. But he's not my keeper. Silence hung until Harold broke it. We moved forward. You've already built the trail. Late morning. We sat in the bank's small conference room. The risk officer, pale from caffeine and legal caution, confirmed the freeze. 2 fraudulent transfers flagged. Mrs. Delane. Funds will be clawed back pending investigation. The title office emailed mid-meeting. Quit claim and forged POA now, officially clouded. No sale. No movement. Harold guided my tone on every call. You are confirming, not begging. Confidence is documentation. I repeated his words exactly. I am confirming that no disbursements occur without court order. The clerk typed while I spoke, respect softening her face. We'll document your request. When the line ended, Harold exhaled. Paper beats charm every time. At noon, I walked into First Ebenezer's fellowship hall. Pastor Leon had called a meeting. Closed door. Deacons only. Rumors are loud, he said. Truth deserves a microphone. I stood up. I'm safe. The law is moving. Pray for my son. Not against him. Alma Brooks, steady as always, slid a notepad across the table. We're starting a benevolence protocol for elders targeted by family fraud. We listed free notary days, hotline magnets, classes on power of attorney misuse. One deacon admitted his niece had emptied his debit card. The room sighed, not in pity but release. Consequence. Shared. A local reporter came by mid-afternoon. Naomi waited by the fence as I stepped onto the porch. Mrs. Delane. Any comment? I smiled once. I trust the court. I trust my God. I will not try this in the street. That aired on the evening news beside the pink evidence flags. Harold texted. Perfect. My hand trembled afterward, but I steadied it by labeling a new folder. Sunlight by dusk. Naomi called again. Both warrants executed. Evan detained at a gas station. Callista at her studio. She gave a statement. Says she only meant to scare you. I whispered. They packed for it. Naomi's tone softened. He's asking for a lawyer, not you. That's progress. I nodded to myself. It's distance. Evening settled. Harold and I met in his office on Habersham. Restitution phase, he said. We drafted claims, medical bills, security upgrades, legal fees, and added one clause at my insistence. Community restitution. A percentage would fund the church's elder fraud program. Revenge is loud, Harold murmured. Restitution is quiet and relentless. I smiled. Then relentless it is. By nightfall, casseroles covered my porch. Mrs. Ruiz hummed through the fence. Hymn soft as rain. I wrote in my ledger under the porch light, evidences of kindness. Naomi's last call came at 10. We pulled search histories, cyanide solubility, delete camera memory. My breath caught. She hesitated. One more file on Callista's phone, titled Sunday Plan, Mom. I turned off the porch light and whispered. Then it was never confusion, it was preparation. Detective Naomi Flint began the call at 7:12 a.m. Her voice was calm, professional, but I heard the gravity underneath. We decrypted the Sunday Plan Mom file, she said. Screen sharing to Harold and me. The document filled the screen, bullet points, neat and deliberate. Pre-measure, swap spoon, text Evan at 20 minutes, stage faint, each step marked like a grocery list for murder. Then came an audio note. Callista's voice, unmistakable. Once she's gone, we file the POA at noon. I didn't cry. My pulse stayed even. I wrote the date in my ledger's margin. This, I said, is where denial ends. The ADA confirmed charges now included conspiracy and elder exploitation, I told Naomi. They wrote it down. I just wrote it down longer. By mid-morning, I was back at the courthouse for the arraignment. Callista appeared first, dressed for sympathy. Evan followed, eyes down. Their attorney pleaded confusion. A family in distress. The ADA opened the tablet and read a line from the plan file. Silence. The judge denied bond for Callista, granted Evan a GPS and strict no contact. I said nothing. My black suit, my church pin, my straight spine spoke for me. Pastor Leon's presence 2 rows back steadied me. As I left, reporters shouted, but my line stayed the same. I trust the court. I trust my God. At noon. Harold and I executed the trust. It triggered automatically once felony charges were filed. My home, savings, and retirement accounts shifted under trustee control, safe from family signatures and sudden charm. Alma Brooks would take over if I became incapacitated. No human gatekeeper to bully, Harold said, watching the emails queue. Notifications hit every institution within seconds. Banks, title, insurer, SSA. We were a step ahead now. This, he said, smiling thinly, is how you turn survival into strategy. I filed the checklist for my viewers in my mind. Call your bank. Set fraud alerts, keep your own copies. Later, the insurer called. Mrs. Delane, someone attempted to change your beneficiary last month. Blocked, voice print mismatch. Wow, Naomi played a recording from a notary kiosk. Evan's voice asking how to fast-track a POA. If Mom gets confused on Sunday, Harold folded his arms, satisfied but not smug. Intent, he said, not impulse. The ADA added both to evidence, confirming premeditation. I told the camera later for the seniors who'd listen. Ignorance is expensive. Paper is cheap. That afternoon, the community post I'd scheduled went live, a 3-minute reel, unlisted but already sent to court and sponsors. I spoke calmly over document screenshots, hotline numbers, and a quiet reminder that safety starts with planning. No names, no accusations, just facts. Comments poured in. Thank you for teaching us. I showed this to my pastor, Naomi texted. Clean and powerful, Harold replied. You didn't swing, you placed. By evening, I stood again at First Ebenezer Church. The hall was full but hushed. Pastor Leon introduced the Elder Ledger Initiative, notary nights, fraud awareness clinics, camera vouchers for seniors. I signed the first donation check, restitution money with purpose. Pain turned into policy, Pastor said. Alma held up the hotline magnets. We'll keep receipts for good this time. Applause rose, soft and steady. I didn't feel vengeance, only the weight of things finally balanced. Back home. Naomi called one last time. We have confirmation search histories show cyanide, camera deletion, and a draft insurance claim scheduled for Sunday evening. Then she paused. Evan requested a call. I accepted with Harold and Naomi listening in. Mom, I didn't, he began. I stopped him gently. Son, I taught you to add. You added yourself to this. You'll subtract your excuses now. He sobbed. I blessed him, not to comfort but to release. Restitution first, then redemption. Twilight settled when I brewed tea again. I set an untouched cup of hot chocolate beside my ledger. It glowed under the kitchen light, reminder and warning both. I whispered to my unseen audience, "Keep receipts, keep your peace, keep your future." Then I slid the final document into the folder marked Sunlight Closed. They planned Sunday. I planned the rest of my life. The porch light flickered once, twice, then stayed on. A knock echoed, steady, deliberate. On my doorstep lay a new envelope marked Confidential, Settlement Review. I glanced at the sender's name and froze. Savannah's quiet night seemed to lean closer. "So," I whispered, "who's cashing in now?" And not yet.